Here are your headlines for today. Protests erupted in Omaha, Nebraska this past Friday and Saturday after police shot and killed a black man. Omaha police say an officer shot 35-year-old Kenneth Jones Thursday night while responding to a traffic stop. Here's what police say happened. They say they spotted a car with 4 people inside, stopped in the middle of the road without its hazard lights on. The 2 officers involved in the stop were Dan Faulkner and Richard Martier. Department heads say the 2 officers instructed all the people in the car to put their hands up as officers walked towards them. According to the department, though, and this information comes from interviews with the officers and body camera video, I want to note that the media has not yet seen that footage. Police say 3 people in the car put their hands up, but they say Jones did not. And that's when officers say they used a flashlight to break the car window and open the door closest to Jones. Jones wasn't driving, by the way. Police say video shows the 2 officers struggling to get Jones out of the car. They claim to have seen a gun on Jones during the struggle and fired 4 shots at him because of that. Police say the officers did end up finding a gun directly underneath Jones after they shot him. Jones was taken to the University of Nebraska Medical Center where he died. Pro-Black is a progressive Omaha-based group that advocates for racial justice. The group condemned the killing in a statement posted to Twitter Friday. Here's part of that statement. It says, "There is no probable cause for him to have been asked to exit the vehicle. Release the tapes." People have been protesting the killing outside police headquarters. Police declared the protest unlawful assemblies. And Friday, they arrested a protester for what they call assault of an officer after they say he shined a laser light on an officer's face. And they say they made similar arrests for assault Saturday. Protesters told the World Herald they had to go to the hospital after having been maced and hit by police. Here's the thing, what a lot of protesters are saying, a routine traffic stop should not end in someone dying. A lot of people have questions. They're saying, what happened that caused you to even break the window? They want to know. And when things like this happen, you often hear people saying, hold on, wait until we get the facts. But then the protesters here are asking for the ability to be able to kind of break down all of the facts. They want to see those tapes. And I have to say, as a journalist, I will never have a problem with people asking for public information, right? Because what you'll see in a lot of these cases is that police are able to say, hey, this is part of an investigation. And they're able to hold up that footage, body camera, dash cam video, even surveillance video in the area for months, maybe even years at a time because of that. And a lot of activists have been saying that there needs to be laws on the books specifically saying that there needs to be exemptions, that police can't hold up public info because it's part of an investigation.
1,000%. I mean, I watched the press conference. His wife died. I like to believe that he was just like, I don't want to be here without her.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, for sure.
I want to talk a little bit about David Dinkins, though, because he lost re-election in 1993 to Rudy Giuliani. And what's interesting is that actually mirrors Dinkins to Giuliani a lot. If you think about it, what we're seeing right now in current times, Giuliani ran what even at that time, a lot of people were being honest and calling a pretty racist campaign. And I think right now we're in a space where people are being a little more honest about that campaign. I don't know if you remember back at that time, but Giuliani actually kind of incited a riot. And it was a lot, thousands, I think, of mostly white and a lot of drunk police officers. At the time, he essentially launched his career on those riots, which makes it interesting that he's kind of turned around to slam Black Lives Matter for protesting. Dinkins was, as we've been saying, the first black mayor. He drove crime down faster than any mayor in New York City history at that time. That's a really big deal, right? A lot of progressive politics that he ran on. He said this about Giuliani's underlying message when he was campaigning. He said Giuliani's message basically was the city is in terrible financial straits. Do you really want a black man presiding over it in this time of trouble? And one more thing, because I really like The Atlantic's Adam Serwer, and he said this, I hope people who should have known better then understand now that Giuliani succeeding Dinkins was an outcome of similar forces that led to Trump succeeding Obama. The NBA has had to move one of their teams back to the States because of how serious Canada is enforcing
Canada ain't playing with it, though.
This is corny. This is theater. They're saying, we want you to sign this to tell us that you understand that we think it's a good idea for you to do this. This has nothing to do with what people actually will do. This is ridiculous, and this is honestly a waste of everybody's time.
But at the end of the day, you can't monitor everyone. So,
but they're not even trying. So
no,
they're not even trying.
That's really where I stand.
Not even trying.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Yes, she is Jamaican and she is Indian. She is also a black woman, which means she faces the same struggles as other black women in America, and nothing about where her parents were born takes that away. This is ridiculous, and we may rid ourselves of Steve King and any other politicians similar to him, but this is just proof that the rhetoric is staying around.
Yeah, it really is proof, man. And on top of that,
every time, okay? All right, you guys, we got another story here. A county in northern Michigan approved a resolution Friday to support the impeachment of Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Here's what happened. MLive.com reports the Kalkaska County Board of Commissioners voted 4-2 on a resolution backing calls for Whitmer's impeachment. The measure will now be sent to the Michigan legislature for consideration. County Commissioner David Comay blamed what he called Whitmer's unconstitutional executive orders for Kalkaska's economic crisis. Many conservatives have expressed outrage at actions Whitmer has taken to slow the spread of coronavirus. Whitmer's press secretary, Tiffany Brown, responded to all of this, saying Governor Whitmer does not have any time for partisan politics or people who don't wear masks, don't believe in science, and don't have a plan to fight this virus. Right now, she's focused on saving lives. And you know, something I think is interesting, some top GOP legislators don't even support this. Michigan House Speaker Lee Chatfield is a Republican, and he said, "We're not the party that impeaches someone because we're upset with policies they've enacted." Well, he's trying to say that Democrats are because of Trump. It was a shot there, but it was also a shot against people on his side. So
true. Now, she was the one that was about to be kidnapped, right? They were trying to kidnap her, right?
All because she's trying to save everybody's life.
This is what I'm trying to bring out there, and yet this is what she's getting, or they're trying to do.
Like,
that's not fair.
No, it's ridiculous.
It just makes me wonder.
He was admitted in private that he was wrong, will follow suit, and be man enough to apologize in public like he promised. We'll work on Oprah and Lionsgate a little later. That's what she said. She also called Hubert everybody's Aunt Viv. I want to go back to just the special because it was really powerful for me, especially as a dark-skinned black woman in the entertainment, you know, the news entertainment business, I guess you could say. This was powerful. I loved that he apologized. He gave her the apology that she wanted. And she also, though, if you watch, she would not take her foot off his neck for even a second. If he tried to shy away from saying, nope, you own up to it, and she made him, and he did it. Because the thing is, he was young. He was very young, and also I think the industry took advantage of the star power he had, and so when they were ready to be done with her, it all compounded together. It piled on, and it did ruin her life. She wasn't being difficult. She was pregnant. She was going through a difficult pregnancy, going through an abusive marriage, and she was quiet. And that's awful.
But devil's advocate, everything that you just said, she was going through a pregnancy, she was going through an abusive marriage, might have translated as being difficult. We also have to keep in mind, Will was very young.
That's what he said, yeah.
He's not understanding what it's like to stand in the shoes of a black woman, a dark-skinned black woman in Hollywood. He's not going to understand those kinds of nuances, that women experience. And
understood that, but he still has to take responsibility for it. And I can't let it slide the whole, it may have been seen as difficult. She wasn't being difficult. And that's important because a lot of times just her existence, and we can talk about Monique too, just their existence and what they look like is seen as difficult. And he admitted it. He didn't like her. He misjudged the situation, didn't like her, and he made that clear. And they got her out of there. And not only that, they got her out of the whole business. And we can talk about Monique too. People are saying, she's seen as difficult. There was something that happened today. I don't know if you saw the news. Dave Chappelle went to Netflix and said,
take my stuff off.
Take this down. He signed a predatory contract when he was young and new to the business. And Netflix said, you're right. Did that happen when Megan Thee Stallion was talking about her predatory contract, when Monique was talking about hers? Did that happen? The public was like, why didn't you read the contracts? You signed it, because women are treated differently. Dark-skinned black women are treated incredibly differently. And we have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think there's more acknowledgement of it now.
Yeah.
And I just have to say, Monique, she wants all the smoke. She is one of the best people that I've ever seen holding somebody's feet to the fire, and she's not letting up off the gas for a single solitary second. I think that in this particular situation with Monique, Tyler Perry, Oprah, Lionsgate, et cetera, there's an enormous amount of ego play going on. So I think that she's going to be waiting a really long time for said apologies to be said publicly, because perception is, is what it is. Sometimes people be standing on the opposite end and be like, I don't really owe you anything,
I want to see the Monique and Tyler Perry on the Verses, because I feel like the way she described when she walked into his dress room that day, I think it's at the Hoodie Awards, and how and everybody just left his room. She was like, oh, this man think he got this kind of power, but she has a point. And some people try to call Monique bitter about that situation,
do,
right?
And it's like she's just standing in her truth.
Black women sometimes get overlooked so many times and not respected.
100% if you want to be safe. And just going back to the story, transparency is incredibly important. What Romeo kind of described sounds not fun, not like a walk in the park, not at all comparable to dying from COVID-19. But it's important because I think when it comes to vaccines and the science behind them, one of the biggest issues is misinformation, right? Misinformation and a lack of information overall. And this is important, specifically everyone needing to know about this, because think about hospitals and staffing there. If this is going to possibly knock you out from one day, people could be fine with that. But when it comes to a hospital staff, you're going to need to stagger when everyone gets it because of that.
That's true.
So it's important. Transparency is important. I hope none of this stops people from saving their own lives if science says this is where the safety is. But we want to know.
My only concern